Hello, everybody. This is Chris Pfluger back again, your managing director here at IAD Florida. And I'm here today with some special guests. We've got Jason, Brent, and Todd from Simple Home Lending. So I wanted to welcome you guys. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for having us. We're honored to be here.
It's my pleasure. So our story today, what we're trying to do is get some information across. As a real estate agent, I need to work very closely with my partners, right? I don't get transactions done in a vacuum. I don't do it by myself. We have to make sure the clients agree on everything, but we also have to have partners to make sure that we get the proper lending in place, the proper insurance in place. Everything has to go smoothly. And as part of that, I've invited you guys here to talk a little bit about the process and what we can do to advise our agents, any agents in the marketplace, really, what's the best way to smooth out that process, to advise our clients in advance, to help the process work well and avoid any pitfalls and any concerns, any questions. And at the very end, a little tidbit there, some properties that may cause some issues. So you better be advised as an agent to work with your clients. So let's start off, if you guys don't mind. I think you're based out of Clearwater, but you cover the entire state of Florida. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So nothing is going to surprise you. Florida, we always joke, is kind of the freak show state. So it's going to happen here some form or fashion. And so we get to experience a lot of different things. So we also have a lot of clients moving in from other parts of the world, other parts of the United States, within Florida, from one side to the next. So we get to see literally everything. So this is great. So I appreciate you guys sharing some experiences. So as an agent, what am I looking for to help my clients, kind of be prepared for that mortgage that they're about to get?
I mean, right up front, great communication, getting the lead, texting, emailing, and getting them on the phone immediately is number one. Really getting the application done as quickly as possible. We do a soft pull credit report right up front, and then we do an opt-out prescreen.com, wait 5 days, do a hard pull once they're under contract, or if we have debt to income ratio issues. But really getting the client the documents as quickly as possible, especially if they're self-employed. Initially, I will do a soft pull, complete the application, and send out a pre-qualification letter. And then I'll send them hyperlinks to upload all their documents so we can send review and then send out a pre-approval. Time is of the essence, as you know, because a lot of homes, it's changed a little bit recently, but there are homes that are selling in 1 day and there are homes that are sitting in the market for 45. So from the time of initial application, we like to get them pre-qualified or pre-approved same day so they can go out shopping immediately. We have buyers that have been looking for 2-3 months. We have buyers that are lucky, get pre-qualified on Friday and they get a contract Saturday or Sunday. So really just the communication between the buyer's agent and the client and us, gathering as many documents as possible. One thing I will note is that I will not send out a pre-approval or a pre-qualification if somebody is self-employed. We definitely need to see the personal and the business tax returns, whether it's a C Corp, S Corp, or LLC. Very important because a lot of people think that their gross income is their net, but it's not. Net income is definitely after all expenses and deductions. And then really from there, picking a property of interest and getting the broker synopsis or the MLS as quickly as possible so we can order insurance quotes. If it's in a flood zone, we definitely need flood quotes. Seeing if the property has HOA dues, and of course, pulling the tax bills. So we can get that loan estimate worksheet as close as possible to show them what their monthly cost will be. And of course, what their expenses and funds due at closing would be estimated without actually having a contract. So that's vital.
So I will tell you, so you mentioned a few things there. So let's unpack a few things. So a soft pull means that you're checking their credit, but it's not affecting the score.
Correct. It's a soft inquiry, which usually right now we're using Equifax. So it's only one bureau. And, with the experience that we have, we can gauge it off of that. But if we do have any issues, I will go back in and do a hard pull immediately so we can run AUS, automated underwriting system, either through Fannie, Freddie, or Ginnie Mae right away. So we know. But typically we do a soft pull. There is not a hard inquiry with that. No inquiry will show up on the credit report at all.
Perfect. And so, if you've had some credit challenges in the past, or you have a perfect score, you probably have different advice along those lines. But you also probably going to find out, from a debt to income ratio, if someone's very near the ratio, the lending ratio. So just for those who don't know, roughly what am I looking for as my debt to income ratio?
Well, VA, we've had actually Todd disclosed one recently that was 68%. The typical guideline for
Yes.
VA, 68%. As long as they have the 400 residual income after all expenses, including the home, we can get it approved, hopefully with an AS approved eligible. Typically, 62% is going to be the norm. FHA, 54.99, 55%. I have had a couple exceptions recently at 56, 57 if they have assets or long-term credit history. Conventional, really 49.99. We can't really go over that. If it's 50.01, it won't approve eligible. USDA is the hardest loan to get approved. It's 29.41. 29 is the front end being the home, 41 the back end with all other debts, including the home.
Wow. So would you say in today's market, obviously rates are still hovering a little bit higher than they were a few years ago? Not a shocker, right? That's been one of the challenges on the real estate side. Is it difficult to get approved for a mortgage these days, or it pretty much is in line, just rates are a little higher?
Exactly. It's in line, rates are a little higher. And in short, we always tell our clients, if we can't do it, it can't be done. So, And there's no overlays here with Simple Home Lending. We're underwriting directly to Fannie, Freddie, VA, Ginnie Mae, all of them. So there's no surprise, or that's a lender problem. You're not going to have that.
Yeah, our underwriters go right off the AUS findings, the DU findings. So if it says one pay stub, one bank statement, one tax return, that's what our processor will submit to underwriting.
And 30 years of experience in the team here, we're looking ahead of the curve to keep the requests as minimum of a headache as possible.
Yeah.
So.
And as an agent, that's what I'm looking for, right? I just want to. I don't want to know how the sausage is made, right? I just want to. Right. So I want to make sure it goes through smoothly, and I want to have great partners that can help us do that. So, you mentioned, we talked a little bit earlier. So what you mentioned is a few things I need to be looking for as an agent that probably is not top of mind. And that's a couple of things you mentioned was on the property tax side and also on the homeowner side. So on the insurance side. So let's mention that for a second. So on the property tax side, you mentioned there's a lot of resets going on.
Correct. So a lot of homes that are being sold in this area and your area, all over the state, elderly people, homes in a trust, they pass away, or they've owned the home for 10, 15, 20, 30 years sometimes. The property hasn't been reassessed in many years. So the one example that I mentioned earlier was a home that a lady owned since 95. The home was in a trust. Her children own it now. The tax bill, the MLS was actually showing $1,229. I pulled the property tax bill showing $1,229, but I did an estimator through the county website, and the taxes came back estimated $5,200. So it was more than 4 times of an increase from the actual current tax bill to what it will reset at when they do when they go to the home next year to assess the property taxes. So the tax bill that comes out next November 2025, will be a huge increase.
And that's going to affect the ratios and how much they can lend against. So it really becomes a problematic for especially anyone on the buy side that's a little tight.
Yeah, not just for their initial payment or underwriting, but we don't want a client to call us in a year and say, hey, we just got a call from our servicer in a letter. We are $4,500 short in our escrow. What do we do?
Yeah.
And that's common on new construction. That's why I always estimate extremely high instead of low. And I let them know, hey, I'd rather have you get an escrow refund of $300, $400, $500 than get an escrow shortage of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, because it has happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances, especially in Florida with those homestead exemption on some of the older properties. There's people that live on the water that paid $400,000 for houses worth $2 or $3 million, and their property taxes are quite insignificant. But then all of a sudden it's sold, and
surprise,
there's $50,000 or $25,000 or $30,000. Right? So it could be a huge difference. So that is great advice and good thing to think of as an agent. And then on the homeowners insurance, which we know has been an ongoing discussion in the state of Florida for many, many years. what do you think there?
Very dramatic changes over the last 12 months with a lot of carriers pulling out after Hurricane Ian 2 years ago. So we're limited on the carriers that we have. So I personally have chosen, I know Todd and Brent have also, specific agencies that we use that have all the carriers to offer more than one quote. For example, I have one agency that sends an email when I send the broker synopsis and a breakdown of the property. They'll send 4 columns, and it's 4 different carriers. So really the biggest thing that we're looking for is dwelling coverage, and of course the deductibles and the wind and MIT. So dwelling coverage has kind of varied from carrier to carrier, but we like to get those quotes up front so there's no surprises moving forward. Especially if they, we think it's 2,500, we send out a loan estimate and a pre-approval at 2,500. We get the quotes back 2-3 days later, and they're 4,000, 5,000. That could be a deal breaker for a lot of buyers, and especially with flood.
So as an agent, working with the right partners can really help you out and show the true value that you're bringing to your clients, especially with all the changes after the NAR settlement, where we have to, prove our value on the buy side very specifically by getting that contract signed. So this is one of those good ways to have the right partners can help you through that process. So that's very good information. So the last thing on my list, and we talked about a little bit because, and again, being able to handle pretty much properties anywhere in the state of Florida, there is a lot of variability in the types of areas, properties, flood zones, non-flood zones. And I always used to joke, you can find a $2,000 mobile home outside of Ocala, and you can find a $100 million home in Palm Beach, right? So it just depends on where you are. So any properties that you would consider, I wouldn't say you don't want to lend to, but you want to make sure you spend some extra time, reviewing in your estimation. So if I'm an agent, I'm reviewing, and someone says, hey, I want these type of properties, or my clients want these type of properties, what should I be especially paying attention to?
In my opinion, and I think this goes for all of us, we definitely want to make sure that if a client is looking for a condo, that it is on the Fannie Mae condo approved list.
Yeah.
That list since May of 2023, after the restructure of how a condo is approved through the HOA and the property management company, has changed dramatically. So we would send the list per county to the buyer's agent and to the client, and hopefully they choose off of that list. If it's not on the Fannie Mae approved list, it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. It's just going to be a challenge and could take a little bit of time. We would have to reach out to the listing agent and the property manager or management company, order all the condo docs usually through HomeWise Docs. Takes about 10 days to get while we're under contract going through underwriting, and hope for a clean approval. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and this is the reason why. High concentration of investors, over 50%. And then I've run into this problem recently where, and this happened to me at IMG Academy recently in Bradenton, where the properties are 20 plus years old. They have original roofs. So the insurance company, what they did is they have 100% replacement value on the building, but an actual cash value on the roof. So if it's an actual cash value, no lender, bank, broker in the whole country will close it. So we have to wait for them to replace the roofs to go back to the replacement value on the roof. So that's the biggest issue, condos. The other is manufactured homes over 25 years old. And that is due to insurance. And of course, the condition of the property. A lot of these manufactured homes are on permanent foundations that were never set correctly or not even fastened correctly. So we have to do an engineering foundation report and a 4-point to make sure the property is going to pass inspection and appraisal. Other than that, we will do any property in the state. And I have no fear of doing condos. They're just tougher.
And that's actually truly, valuable information, because as an agent, you may not think through some of those items, and your clients are wandering around want to buy a condo. And then all of a sudden you run into other issues that either slow down your deal or kill your deal. And that's the last thing you want to see as an agent, right? You want to be able to provide that advice to your clients so they aim them in the right direction for the right reasons. People moving from other states very much are not aware of the insurance issues and some of the issues with how old your home is and everything else because of the hurricanes in Florida. And so this is very good advice. And you mentioned to me earlier on the luxury properties, anything up to $5 million, you're pretty
Correct.
much good on, but not many inquiries coming over 5 million. So
Yeah, and they have raised the score requirement to a minimum 700. And we can do 10% down, but preferably 20% down. Then, of course, we can do jumbo VA also after the, the 955. After that, it's 25% down up to 2 million on a VA purchase.
okay.
So it's a great product.
So a lot of flexibility on what type of loans you can do, and a lot of extra services you guys provide. I have to say it's been very informative. And again, we ran across the bottom, simplehomelending.llc. So if anybody wants to talk to you gentlemen, you certainly could. As an agent, I would say that you can provide some very, very valuable services over and above what you do on the lending side, which is very, very helpful. I sincerely appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for
very
having
much,
us,
Chris.
Chris.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
great
guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.